Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to theCUBE's live coverage of the Red Hat Summit here at the Georgia World Congress Center. I'm your host, Rebecca Knight, alongside Rob Strechay. Rob, we're in the post-lunch stretch. We've got some great guests lined up.
Absolutely. This is the energizing time of the afternoon. We're going to jump right in and we're going cloudy.
Indeed we are. With that, I would like to welcome Campbell Vertesi, Chief Technology Officer, Microsoft and Red Hat Partnership at Microsoft. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I understand that if you get up to stretch, that's called uptime. That means that you aren't allowed to sit back down again after
that is true, that is true. So Campbell, Microsoft and Red Hat obviously partners, they go way, way back, but this year feels a little different in terms of everything that is taking place. AI is real, virtualization, sovereignty. What are the conversation, or what is the conversation that you're having right now at the Red Hat Summit this week that feels maybe different than it has in years past?
I think people are really starting to feel the momentum of the partnership that we have, right? And it was historic and shocking when we started partnering, and now it's been 10 years, right? We have the pillar Red Hat products have been on Azure for long enough to be well-established, well-integrated products, and the pace is just getting faster. And what I find really interesting that I hear reflected back from customers is because our universes were so separate for so long, but we approach the exact same customer base in the enterprise space especially, we end up with a lot of complementary strengths. And what I'm hearing from customers is, okay, in my hybrid environment, how do I actually get the best of both worlds? Right? And enough of the blah, blah, blah marketing speak about hybrid one pane of glass. This is a high complexity estate. How do I really rationalize this and be able to have time to sleep in between?
Yeah, I mean, I love it because I think it gives optionality to customers, and I think when you look at it, there's a lot of strengths to things like Azure and different services there, so being able to have your Red Hat estate in Azure, be it on the Linux side or on the OpenShift side, must make a lot of sense so that they can also leverage all those other services, being from security all the way to AI and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely, and then mix and match is exactly the way we're seeing customers use these technologies. It is interesting, more and more now we go together to customers, whether as the technical advisors or as account teams, which is itself an incredibly fun thing to get to say. But we find when we talk to those customers, right, it's the same enterprise, the same company, but the Linux and Windows people are not talking to each other. And they're running totally separate ops stacks. And we get to have the really fun conversation of, okay, now let's talk about integration and best of both worlds. This is, well, I'm not supposed to talk about this yet because we're not releasing until next week, but you know what, you're friendly people. It's actually where we're going next with the partnership. We're about to announce that we're focusing exactly on the hybrid space, on this idea of the open enterprise hybrid cloud that we're talking about. And it's the concept that if you are already standardized in the Red Hat space, in the Red Hat ops stack, you should be able to extend and take advantage of all of Azure, and it should feel like a normal and native part of your Red Hat experience. And vice versa, of course, right? If you're standardized on the Microsoft world, Red Hat should be a normal extension of that. It has been very exciting working with customers on private preview about this, but I have to be careful how much I say, but I'm super excited about it.
But maybe you can talk about the lead up to that in terms of what customers were telling you that crystallized this for your partnership.
Honestly, AI is a really big part of that story. We're used to telling the story about the difficulty with scale, but the pace of scale with AI is crazy. And it's also that the level of customization is so high on an AI experience. It used to be that you were deploying 100, 200 applications and that's your entire organizational application set you have to deal with. Now you are dealing with an order of magnitude more because every application is customized, right? You can't possibly keep up with policy, keep up with standards, keep up with any of the compliance that you need, especially in a regulated industry, unless you are really doing that best of both worlds kind of approach. We talk a lot about Banco Bradesco, we just won an award with their solution for platform innovation, and it was exactly this story. They built their own AI platform where their developers can provision any AI model, any AI backend service, and it all runs through Azure AI hidden in the background, right? So they get the unified policy and governance set that they need. They get access to the complete set of whatever models you want out there. It's not just OpenAI anymore, right? And off-the-shelf services. And they got to, it was 100 AI services in production within 1 year, 200 by the second year, and I just heard at the award show the other night, they're at 500 plus now, that's 2.5 years. And those are in production, compliant, audit-ready solutions. That is amazing, and it's only possible when you embrace that level of customizability and using both of the stacks together, right, to get exactly what you need.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of tells the story of where organizations are looking to modernize, but they really can't have that disruption and things like that. How are you guys going together around that whole area as well? Because that's a big theme here this week.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I mean, that's an easy one, right? OpenShift Virtualization is a phenomenal solution for that. It is not only so extremely well accepted in on-premises environments that everybody has to have, and it is not only designed for hybrid first, but it also, I like to say that it gets you the first 75% of the benefits of modernization without having to blow up every app you've ever built.
Right.
Right, because you migrate your VMs over as is, and you get all of the cloud native operations. So you get that operational unification that you were hoping for from cloud migration, and then honestly, I don't care what the salespeople say, you don't have to containerize everything. That's nuts.
Agreed.
And you can do this horizontal containerization. If you find that 30% of your VMs are using MySQL, then you build a container for MySQL and standardize that and pull out just that piece of your VMs. Only OpenShift Virt can do that, and we just launched OpenShift Virt on Azure, on our first party managed OpenShift service, ARO. We launched that at Ignite, so end of 2025. And that means that now your cloud estate is a part of that immediate time to value that you get with an OpenShift Virt migration.
So I want to ask more about ARO, because I know, I mean, the buzzwords here, security, identity, trust, these are the hallmarks of what organizations need to do with AI. How are you helping them achieve these things?
I mean, it is a core competency for both companies. It's a lovely question because that plays to our strengths. Thank you very much, your check is in the mail. But especially when we deal with regulated industry, and finance is one of my favorites lately, you need to, again, be taking advantage of the best of both worlds. And so lately we've launched confidential containers support on OpenShift, right, which is, if you're used to looking for HTTPS, a little lock in your browser, that's the equivalent for the workload that you're running, and it means that the operator themselves, the OpenShift operator, but also Azure, can't see what you're actually running in there. This is really important for separating workloads from each other. The other one that's wonderful is managed identity, which is a fancy way to say your Entra identity and the way you deal with your identity and permissions for the rest of your Azure estate now includes inside of ARO and inside of OpenShift, right? So your workloads have identities, your users have identities, and all of that is consistent. It's a huge improvement for people.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and go, a little story people don't always realize is how involved Microsoft is in open source as well. And Satya has done an unbelievable job of driving that down, and I think, doesn't get enough credit from that. One of the places this plays out is really around the data, because the data is feeding AI. AI is a data monster, a data consumer in a big way. How are you seeing that, the coming together of those two with the Red Hat platform and Azure?
Oh, absolutely, and I'll even take it a step further, and AI is a Linux native industry, right? And it was already the case that the majority of workloads on Azure were Linux workloads, and so we were going as hard as we could to learn and upskill on how do you operate responsibly in an open source sense, and how do we embrace that flexibility. And now with AI, just as you say, sovereign data requirements, that is a real thing. Having your AI workloads close to the data, that is a real and serious constraint for people. So, Azure already is very good about the kind of flexibility and modularity of the solutions. And what we're seeing and encouraging our customers to do is to work with OpenShift AI and OpenShift for the parts of your AI lifecycle in your organizational context that need to happen on-prem and close to your data, whether that's from your capacity or where your data is or how your developers work. And to be getting the best out of Azure, you should be taking advantage of Azure AI to run the pieces that you can run in cloud. Very often that's the inference and the flexible modeling part.
Right, and one of the things I think that's happening is you're also meeting at MCP as one of those. Talk a little bit about that, how it's coming.
Isn't it amazing? And MCP has taken over the world as an integration engine. Actually, I think the most interesting part for me is for the administrators that so the Azure MCP server is now listed in the Red Hat AI MCP catalog.
Yeah, something like that.
I should have practiced getting all of those out beforehand in the MCP
well, they need
catalog.
an acronym for it, and then it'll be easier.
Oh, don't say it too loud. You know, Microsoft will use the same acronym we use for 5 other products. No, so Azure MCP is included because the reality is you need to be able to interrogate your entire estate at once. And whether you're doing that from the Azure side and the Azure Copilot and interrogating, understanding your Red Hat estate or the other way around, MCP is the way that we're making that happen and making that real for people.
So one of the things that people might not know about you is that you are a co-founder of the opera band The Cast, which is about presenting opera in unexpected places as popular culture.
Yep.
I'm wondering how you think about that, your art, when you think about your day job, in terms of bringing enterprise infrastructure through open source and other kinds of partnerships to a more accessible audience.
I love it that you got that connection. It is a very similar thing for me. I actually used, when I was an engineer and an engineering lead, I used to say that performing is very similar to coding. At least in the classical space, you spend a lot of time in your basement practicing and making decisions where there's not a hard and clear right answer in most cases about what is your architecture, how are you telling the story, how are you making the experience happen, and then you have your release day in front of thousands of people and hope it goes well. Personally, I think of myself as a sort of boundary object. What I like to do is connect these disparate worlds. And I'm passionate about enterprise and open source coming together. It doesn't get more enterprise and open source than Microsoft and Red Hat doing amazing open source products together. It's lots of fun.
I mean, I look at it and it seems like it's working. I mean, you guys have won some awards and things like that. Why don't you talk to how the partnership has been just growing? Like you said, launch at Ignite.
Yep, launch at Ignite, but it's, of course, I've been in this role now for almost 5 years. And every time Summit comes around, I reflect on that incredible rocket ship trajectory that we've been on. Some of it is respect for how different the cultures are and the overlap area, but a lot of it is just, like every relationship, this has been about building trust with each other. And in the end, every time we go to a customer together, the customer goes, wow, I can't believe it. You mean you both are on the same side? Right? And our sellers are going, wow, I can't believe it. If I go in with Red Hat, it means that I get a better solution for the customer. And you know, the customer can decrement both of their committed spends for Microsoft and Red Hat. It's been a spectacular success because once we got over that initial hurdle of trust, honestly, this is the direction the river flows for all of us. There's a ton of momentum behind it.
Well, that's really exciting. So what is next? What is next in this partnership? When we're back here talking at Summit 2027, what is the headline you want to be sharing?
Oh, it's all about hybrid, and it's going to be about the open enterprise hybrid cloud. This idea of you should use the tools that you are used to, that your global IT organization knows how to use. And you can get the best out of Azure, and you can get the best out of the Red Hat estate. And in a lot of places, that's going to be an optionality. And it's going to be making sure that we have feature parity and that you can control both sides, whether you're using the Azure native pieces or the Red Hat native pieces. In other places, it's really a better together story. And one of the places I'm very excited about us engaging in is around Ansible especially, right? Ansible has been a marketplace offer for Azure for a few years. It was one of the first things that I got to do. And we are working closely with them to bring them a lot closer in so that it's a unified policy story, right? You should have one story where you are setting your regulatory compliance needs, your governance, your policy in the place where you have the most strength there, and Azure is fantastic at that part of the story. But there is nothing on the market, and there's nothing even close to it in the world than what Ansible can do with reach into every kind of device. I haven't looked into it, but I think it can control my dishwasher. It can run every device, everywhere you go, right? And on top of that, it does it in a way that is auditor-recognized, right? And auditor-standardized. The US Department of War actually puts out Ansible runbooks for you because that's one of the leading ways to do it.
Right.
So making that story come together along with the hybrid story of OpenShift, Arrow, AKS, and the rest of the Azure ecosystem, and RHEL and how Linux works for us. Honestly, having started on this journey 30 years ago now, I shouldn't say that out loud, it's frightening.
No, you're a rock star, don't worry.
Having started on that journey in that era, I never expected to be in this seat where I am, to watch these worlds really merge. It's an amazing time for customers to come and talk with us, because now you are shaping how that unified layer works. And I am stoked. We'll talk about this next year.
Okay,
it's
I
going
look
to be
forward
great.
to it. Something to look forward to. Campbell, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I should put together a song next time.
There you go.
I would love it, I would love it. I'm Rebecca Knight for Rob Strechay. Stay tuned for more of theCUBE's live coverage of the Red Hat Summit. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in enterprise tech news and analysis.